On this episode of China Uncensored, the cyber war for Hong Kong. Computers. Am I right? I've certainly never been able to figure them out. No, as far as I know, China Uncensored gets from the camera to you because of magical pixies that live inside the computer. And though I'm certain that one day the machines will enslave us all, at least for now, they seem like they're being put to good use in the Hong Kong protests. Since the beginning, protesters have made use of technology. According to Voice of America, Hong Kong has one of the highest concentrations of mobile usage anywhere outside of Mr. Spiegelman's fifth period math class. But there was always the fear that the government could disrupt the internet. It's happened before. In 2009, the Chinese regime shut down the internet, long-distance calls, and text messages in the entire region of Xinjiang after protests there. Although this is possible, it is more unlikely in Hong Kong, as part of the one country, two systems includes one country, two internets. That's why Google, after deciding to stop censoring their content in China in 2010, moved their servers over to Hong Kong. But just in case, protesters turned to an app called FireChat, created by developer Open Garden in early 2014. In one 24-hour period, it was downloaded over 100,000 times in Hong Kong alone. Basically, it lets you skip the internet entirely by connecting individual mobile devices through Bluetooth. But it only works with other devices nearby, and users aren't anonymous, so developers warn protesters to use pseudonyms or else anyone looking in could identify the user. But I mean, who would be looking in? Well, it just so happens that just a few miles away is the world's biggest cyber aggressor. According to Akamai Technologies' State of the Internet report, 43% of all internet cyber attacks in the world originate from computers in China. Now, while that doesn't necessarily prove the Chinese regime itself is behind all of those attacks, it is widely believed that the Chinese military is actively involved in most, if not all, of these cyber attacks. In other words, Hong Kong protesters aren't the only ones who can use technology to their advantage. It didn't seem like much in the beginning. On the very first day of the protests, people began to notice that their Android mobile phones were getting viruses. Now, this wasn't too much of an alarm because it's easy to create viruses for a more open operating system like Android. But then the mobile security firm Lacun discovered something very unusual: a spyware virus that infected iOS, the more secure operating system that Apple uses for iPhones and iPads. Basically, protesters were getting an anonymous message on WhatsApp that read, "Check out this Android app designed by Code4HK for the coordination of Occupy Central." But if you open it, your iPhone or iPad would be completely compromised. All your contacts, texts, photos, call logs, even your location is captured. Now, to be fair, there is no proof the Chinese regime is responsible for what Lacun CEO and co-founder called the most polished malware for iOS that we've seen to date. It's just that its servers were located inside mainland China, the program commands were written in Chinese, and the level of sophistication of the virus makes it unlikely that it was created by a small group of hackers. Oh yeah, and it was targeting Hong Kong protesters critical of the Chinese regime. But there's no proof it was Beijing. However, there are some willing to make the assumption that the Chinese government was behind it. They call themselves Anonymous. Anonymous is a loose, leaderless international affiliation of hackers.
We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Government of Hong Kong, expect us.
Wow. October 3rd began what they're calling Operation Hong Kong. They were able to crash the website for a large pro-Beijing political party. The party chairman decried it as outrageous. I assume that's how he said it. Anonymous also leaked the emails and passwords of some 50,000 Chinese government accounts. On October 15th, they released a second video that officially declared cyber war on the Chinese government. As part of their next round of attacks, Anonymous released a list of 150 Chinese government websites they plan to target. Despite their success, there's a debate on what security risk these attacks, though embarrassing, actually pose. China is, after all, what VOA describes as home to the world's most prolific and talented cyber criminals, and the Chinese regime has bent the entire state apparatus to keeping a tight grip on the internet. So far, the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs has reacted to the anonymous attacks by saying, if this matter turns out to be true, it proves that China is one of the victims of internet hacking attacks. Yes, clearly, China is the victim here. But what is the Chinese leadership most afraid of? Information. So Anonymous, I know you're out there, invisible, somewhere. So what if, when you try to get on the Chinese government websites, you're redirected to China Uncensored instead? Now that's an idea. So what do you think of the cyber war that's being waged in Hong Kong? Leave your comments below, subscribe and share, and if you see Anonymous, send them this link. Thanks for watching this episode of China Uncensored. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.